In this lesson, you will learn about factoring trinomials and also how to solve equations. So when we think about factoring, this is like the opposite that we want to do of foiling. So we're going to go back into a foiling problem. Okay, so if we look at the first one, here we have y squared plus 6y plus 8. Okay, so the coefficient in front of y squared is 1y squared. Okay, so we want to think about two numbers that multiply together to be 1 times 8, which is 8, and two numbers that add together to become 6. Okay, so it's easier if you first start off with what multiplies to 8. Okay, so here I have 8 times 1, 4 times 2. Okay, so I want to get the same number. So 4 times 2 equals 8, and 4 plus 2 is equal to 6. Okay, so because these are the same numbers, I'm going to take the first term here, which is y squared, and it becomes y. Okay, then the numbers that I'm using are 4 and 2, and they're both positive. So now I have plus 2 and plus 4. Okay, the order doesn't matter here because eventually you're going to multiply through. Okay, so I've just factored this trinomial up here. To check our work, we can go back and we can multiply through. So if we actually do the FOIL, we get y times y, which is y squared, plus 4y, plus 2y, and plus 8. Okay? So now we see that the two numbers in the center are added together. Okay? So that's why we're adding here, and we get 6y. And then the first and the last are multiplied. Okay, so when we actually do it, we do see that in fact it does work. So our answer here is y plus 2 times y plus 4. And again, the order doesn't matter. You could have had it as y plus 4 and y plus 2. Okay, so let's try another one. So here I have x squared plus 7x minus 18. Okay, so again, the coefficient here is 1. Two numbers that multiply to be negative 18 and add up to be 7. Okay, so multiplying first. I could do negative 9 times 2, or I could do 9 times negative 2. I could do 6 times 3. Sorry, one of them has to be negative. Okay, so thinking about what adds up to 7. Well, 9 and 2, if I subtract them, so I could do 9 plus negative 2, and that would give me 7. So I'm going to go ahead and use those. So because I'm using x this time, so I know that I have the negative 2 and the positive 9. So we have x and x. 9 is positive, so plus 9, and 2 is negative, so minus 2. Okay? So we're kind of unfoiling this to get back to the factor. Okay, so pause the video for a moment and try this one on your own. Okay, so again, coefficient here is 1. 1 times negative 63 is negative 63, and negative 2 in the center. Okay, so numbers that multiply to negative 63, negative 21 times 3. I see that I have a 2 that it needs to add up to. So let's think if there's two numbers that are close together, since we're going to be subtracting. What about 7 times 9? Okay, if this becomes negative, that won't work. But if I do negative 7 times 9, oops, actually, let me erase this. Actually, here would work better. Negative 9 plus 7 would give me negative 2. Okay, so here they're the same, negative 9 and 7. So I should have x minus 9 and x plus 7. Okay, so if you double check this to make sure it worked, you would have x squared plus 7x minus 9x minus 63. Okay, so again, the last terms are being multiplied. That's why we see what multiplies, and the center terms are being added, which is why we add. So x squared minus 2x minus 63, and it works. Okay, so final answer right here. Okay, so on this one in your notes, let's rewrite it. Okay, so now the new problem is going to be x squared plus 3x is going to be equal to negative 2. Okay, so the first thing to solve a problem like this is we want to set it equal to 0 because we want to solve for x. Anytime you see an equal sign, it means you want to solve for x. So I'm going to bring 2 over here. So now I have x squared plus 3x plus 2 is equal to 0. Okay, so now I'm going to use my multiply and add. Okay, so the coefficient here is 1. So I want two numbers that multiply to be 2 and 2 numbers that add up to be 3. Okay, so I can do 2 times 1 is actually the only thing, and then I can also do 2 plus 1 that adds. So I now have x plus 2 and x plus 1. Okay, they're both positive, is equal to 0. So again, we're not done yet here because we have an equal sign. So I'm going to have 2 answers. I first want to separate here. I have x plus 2 is equal to 0, and I also have x plus 1 is equal to 0. So solving for x in both cases, here x is negative 2, and here x is negative 1. Okay? So solving this equation, I have x is equal to negative 2, and x is equal to negative 1. Okay, so let's pause the video for a moment, and I'd like you to try this one on your own. Okay, so what you should have done here is first set the equation equal to 0. So I can do that by subtracting 6. So now I have x squared plus 5x minus 6 is equal to 0. Okay? Coefficient here is 1. So I want 2 numbers that multiply, negative 6 times 1 is negative 6, to negative 6, and add up to 5. Okay? So let's see what I can do here. Negative 3 times 2. Okay, that won't add up to 5. Let's try negative 6 times 1. Nope. What about 6 times negative 1? And then over here I can do 6 plus negative 1. Okay? So I found 2 that match, 6 and negative 1. So I now have x plus 6 and x minus 1, because 1 is negative and 6 is positive, is equal to 0. Okay, now separate each one. X plus 6 equals 0. So I can solve and get x is equal to negative 6. And then the other one, x minus 1 is equal to 0. Solve, x is equal to 1. Okay, so the 2 answers here are x is negative 6, and then x is also equal to 1.